Hi, welcome to Derek Does. Today, I'm going to show you how to use these. So what are these? Well, these are leather belts for industrial sewing machines. I'm going to show you, I have a machine here that I started to work on, and I noticed the belt was slipping and the machine was slipping. And I thought, what a great way to show you how to adjust the belt. These are the same procedures how to install a belt also. So if you like this sort of thing, I'm going to have quite a few things of these coming up. Feel free to subscribe. I love that. Comment, like, all that stuff that YouTube loves. So what are these? Well, these original industrial sewing machines all use leather belts. Today's machines use, well, they were using rubber belts, kind of like what you would have in your car, very similar to that. And now it's like this neoprene type material that they used. But I like to use the original stuff that the machines originally had, if I can. And I love the leather belts. Usually it's like a 5/8, I believe, thickness. Some of your home machines that were treadle that used it were like a 3/8, but you want the thicker stuff. Ideally, you want stuff that actually has what they call hair on hide, which is actually much stronger, just because the hair, I think, acts as a lubricant perhaps, or even like a buffer between the metal, but it's very difficult to find. I purchased years ago, and this is all I have left. This was 100 feet of leather sewing belts, and this is it. This is all I have left. This is how many machines I put together. But I'm not going to use this because I don't need it, because the machine I'm using already has a leather belt, but it's loose. So I'm going to show you how it's sewing right now and kind of what to look for with your belt, so you know if you need to change your belt or adjust your belt, and I'll show you the tools you're going to need to do it. Okay, so the machine we're going to use and work on today is my Singer 112. This is actually a 112D 180, which is a German-made double needle sewing machine. So I have just a piece of scrap in here. I was just going to play around with it, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to start sewing, and you can see the belts on. But you see how you hear that? Earlier, when I was using this, the belt actually was slipping off. And when it slips off, I know that's just no good. It's actually not slipping off right now, but it did. So turn off the motor, and if you see all this, that's too much. You shouldn't be able to touch them. Your belt should be taut. It shouldn't be like so tight that it won't move at all, because that's going to actually be too much stress on the whole machine and the motor. But you want it to be like that. But it's not that, it's that. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the belt. Now, to remove a belt from an industrial sewing machine, all you have to do is just, especially when there's so much slack here, you just lift it up and it comes right off. And I'll show you what the other side on the clutch motor, what it looks like. So this is the underside, and this is the clutch motor right here. Now, this particular clutch motor has a really small reducer on it. Most clutch motors don't have this, but this machine, when I picked it up for this setup, had a very small pulley there. But if you look there, again, when you release the tension, the pulley comes right off. So that's what it looks like. The belt will actually ride on that, but we'll deal mostly with the upstairs part. Okay. So all you have to do when you're going to replace your belt or change it or adjust it, one thing you'll need to notice is this belt has a little staple in it. And these are special staples that industrial sewing machines for the belts have. It looks like a little C. Here, I'll show you. This, back in the day, you would have bought a giant box of these little guys. And basically it's just a C staple. And there's a special hand tool that you'll use to tighten this up. Now, the belt we have already has it, so we probably won't need to use one, but if you're lucky, if you can find a box of these were 500 belt hooks for 5/16 inch belts from the Singer Sewing Company. The box is a little rough, but it's pretty full. I've used these actually quite a few times. Usually if you buy a machine, sometimes in a drawer you can find one or two of these. And you can reuse them too from previous belts, but this is what you want. So the main thing we have to do is we have to shorten this belt. Now, the trouble is, if you notice on the table, there's two holes here, right here and here, that the belt fits in. But you can't pull the whole belt out because it was made to be put together once it's in here. Modern machine tables do not have this because usually you use a rubber belt and it would just slide right through there. You can do the same process on a rubber belt, but I like to use these. So if you want to shorten your belt, which we have to shorten this belt just a little bit, what you do is you take your belt where the staple is and you push it like that, and basically it unfolds it. And you should be able to just squeeze it out just like that. So basically all it is a hole right there on either side that this fits into. Now what you're going to need is this. This is a machine belt plier. This one is actually an old one. I got this in actually my very first Singer 29-4 in the wood box that came with it with needles and everything. This was in it and I had no idea because I was still new of what this was. But this is made specifically for industrial leather sewing belts. It has a lot of cool features on it. One, it's a pair of pliers, as you can see here. But here, right there, this is a little round knife that when you put your leather belt in there and you come down, it cuts it. Now you also have to make a hole in the leather, and that's where this spike comes in. See that spike? If you look on this side, it's a flat piece of metal, but on this side, it's got a hole. So I've got just this scrap piece of leather belting. So when you're gonna do you would put that in there. Yeah, if I can show it. You do your cut, but then here, when you push it, it only goes so far. And that allows you to make the hole. All right, so I've got my belt pliers. I've got my belt apart. So I'm gonna leave the staple on this side since it's already there. I'm gonna cut this end. And I'm not gonna cut that much off because it's not that bad, but I'm gonna cut probably, I don't know, an inch or so off, about to that. Again, so I use my pliers that has this little knife here. You just lay it down in that hole, and then when your knife comes down, it cuts it just like that. And now I have to put the hole in, so you push it forward till it can't go any further. Can you see that? And then you just push down. Sometimes it takes two hands because you're going through quite a bit of leather. And look at that, made the hole right there. So now, when I take my two pieces together, push that down, kind of work it in just like that. And if you twist that way, you're good. Now, if you use a brand new staple, it's not going to be pushed down, and that's where the pliers come in. And actually, I'll do that on this one too. If you notice, the pliers actually have these little grooves on either side, and that's made specifically for your staple. So you just put it on so it covers both of them, and then you push down. All right, so now we're gonna put it on that one. See, it's much tighter now. And we're just gonna run that over. Here, we'll come back from the side. And look at that now. See? Doesn't touch. So let's give it a run. All right, turn it on. Of course, my thread broke. That was the whole reason I was trying out this machine, but very nice. Exactly what it's supposed to do. It's nice and taut. There's no trouble. Now, if you do get this on and you can always adjust from your clutch motor or your servo motor, whichever one you're using. They have a nut and a bolt on them that you can move up and down to give more tension and less tension. So let's say your belt's too taut, or you found a belt and it almost fits your machine, you can adjust it. I'll show you that real quick. So let's say your belt needs adjusted here. It's like it either is too loose or it's too tight. This is what this device here is for. There's a nut here at the top and a nut at the bottom. You loosen this nut, you'll have to use a pair of pliers or a wrench for it, and you can push it up, and then that whole clutch motor will actually pull forward, and that gives you less tension on it. Or you can undo this a little bit, push it to where it's taut, and then tighten it up, and then that's how you can do a final adjustment on your belt, especially if you have a rubber belt that you can't really adjust easy. That's the main reason of that. Leather or rubber belt. The leather belt usually you can adjust pretty good, just like what we did, but you can also fine tune it this way. And it's that easy. It really is. Once you do it a couple times, you'll discover just how second nature it is to do it. Because what happens with leather belts over time is they do loosen up, because it is a natural fiber and they're actually going over and over, especially if you get a little oil and stuff on there, that's going to happen. So again, if you want to change your belt, if you need to adjust it or anything, it's really easy. I would highly recommend picking up one of these belt pliers. They're really handy. You can probably find these on eBay used for maybe 20 bucks or something. It's well worth it. Get yourself some of these little belt staples. You're going to need one of those, and of course your belts. I've even done it where as long as the leather hasn't deteriorated, but that's something that will happen with these old belts, especially if you have an old machine you picked up and the belt's been sitting out for, sometimes the belts are as old as the machines. The leather just falls apart. But if you have good leather, you can actually put two of them together. As long as you can put two staples in it, and you have a longer belt for a machine maybe that you didn't have. Instead of going out and buying a 100-foot roll thing of the real unused stuff, because it is a little pricey. But I bought that. It's lasted 10 years, easy. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe, like it, comment again, and I'm gonna have a lot more coming up, but I thought maybe you guys might like to know how I do it on these leather belts. See you next time.